Jump into
It's
any
not
business.
fucking easy.
Well, no, a lot of people will jump into any business. What's not easy is actually.
It could be a different day, but it's the same, homie. How you look me in my eyes, didn't change on me. They done me dirty, and I think they left a stain on me. They put the blame on me. So for your time up, go get it now, and ain't no telling where you wind up. From the bottom, I went through hell just to climb up. When they get gangster, you do not get.
Darren, let me ask you this: when it comes down to business, a common issue for a lot of business owners is burnouts. For example, they overwork themselves to the point where they feel like they have no more energy. They feel like they don't want to continue going, or they associate continuing on as more of a chore than something that they like to do. How can, in your perspective, a business owner prevent burnout?
So, I think the first thing is to make sure what the field that you're in is something that you're truly passionate about. Like we talk about passion all the time.
Right.
Passion is the biggest driving force when it comes to creating and running a business that you own or doing anything in life. You have to be passionate about it, or you just don't want to do it, right? So a lot of times people get burnt out and they're doing a business they might not be fully passionate about, you know? Because when you have that passion, you're going to have that drive to keep pushing forward.
That's right. Now, what if someone is passionate about what they do, but for some reason they always end up burnt out?
I think the biggest thing is time management.
I agree.
You know, so a lot of people, they'll go in there and they won't know how to manage their time, whether it be their work time, personal time, family time, or anything like that. So they'll put way too much into one, or they'll have no time management at all, and everything is just like clusterfucked into the thing. There's no organization, so they just feel like they're being pulled in 25 million different directions,
Right?
Because they have poor time management skills. So that's one of the biggest things. That's obvious. That's not too obvious to people, but that's a major killer and a major cause to burnout.
I agree, because coming up in business, one of the things that you have to learn is time management. I mean, being in a relationship, having a family outside of your business, things of that nature. Those are all things that are going to require a lot of your time. And if you don't know how to manage your time properly, you're going to invest too much time into one thing.
Yeah.
You're going to put too much into one specific area to where the rest is going to suffer. So you put too much time in your business, your family suffers, your relationship suffers. And if you put too much time in your relationship, your business suffers.
Yeah.
So you want to make sure that you manage your time properly to where you can dive into each and every segment or each and every category of your life and not have to sacrifice one thing for another.
Yeah. And I think another important thing too about time management is having some personal time for yourself, right? Because if you're always constantly working for your business or doing something for your relationship, slowly, like in the back of your mind, it's going to eat away at you, because you're like, man, I have no time for myself and what I want to do. I'm constantly doing things for my family. I'm constantly doing things for my business. When can I enjoy something, right? So it's always important to get a little bit of something done for yourself, right? So if you're going months and months of pouring straight money into your family, money into your business, take a day to put some money into you. Go get, if you're into tattoos, get a tattoo. Go out, treat yourself to dinner, just treat yourself for once, to give yourself a reward for all the hard work you've done.
Man, I feel like getting a tattoo is a lot of work. I mean, dude, I don't know if it's just me and my herniated disc, but I can't sit there for 8 hours getting a needle on me.
They make you sit up, or when I got my tattoo, they made me lay down. So I was just laying down.
I was in all types of positions.
Oh.
Pause. But I agree with that, though. And a good question to ask yourself is this: are you really burnt out, or are you being lazy? And another question too is, do you really have no time, or do you have more time than you even know what to do with? Ask yourself that question. And I'm glad you mentioned about the, being present in the moment. So a lot of people, they try and maximize on everything. And I talked about it before, and it's something that hurts a lot of business owners on their way up, especially with startup companies, because starting up a company is very hard.
Yeah.
Starting up a business is hard. Taking over a franchise is easy. Starting up a business from the ground up is what's hard.
Yeah.
And if you're not present in the moment and you try and maximize everything, like let's say you had a good month of sales and you're like, okay, no, this is not acceptable. I got to go better. That's a great mentality to have. But when you're hard on yourself and you seek perfection, that can only dig your grave even deeper. Because what I want to say is this: you want to be present in the moment, but you also want to reward yourself.
Yeah.
So you want to reward yourself with rest after hard work, and you want to enjoy the present. You know, don't depend on the future. A lot of people are too dependent on the future that they fail to live in the moment. And because of the fact that they fail to live in the moment and fail to cherish the opportunities and fail to acknowledge the good things, they typically burn themselves out. What was once something they were passionate about becomes something that is more work for them.
Yeah.
It becomes a job.
Yeah, there's a saying, right? When you do something you love, you don't work a day in your life, right?
Right.
And if you slowly start min-maxing everything, right? You want to be the fastest, most efficient while providing the best results, right? You're constantly going to be under the stress that's eating away at you, and you're not having fun with what you're doing, right?
Right.
So then since you're not having fun, what you love is slowly turning into a job, and then you're going to start getting annoyed, and then you're going to start feeling drained, and then all of a sudden that burnout is going to creep up on you and eat away at you. So like what you said, it's important to get rest. You know, a lot of people, they undermine the value of sleep.
I agree.
Sleep is very important. And when I was in the military, you don't get a lot of sleep. And throughout the days, you're constantly drained. You're irritable. You're more likely to snap on someone for no reason. And when you do start getting sleep, like just now, I'm slowly starting to get more sleep. Like it's been a training thing. It's hard to get a lot of sleep. Yeah, but as I get more sleep, I feel more energetic throughout the day. I feel happier. My temperament is a lot, I don't know if it's higher or lower, but where I'm just like, I can handle people more.
It's more controllable.
Yeah, there's a word if it's lower, but whatever. Yeah, and I find myself being in a better mood, and I'm more open and more happy doing work because I'm getting that good best sleep.
You've definitely improved, because I want to say, I'm sure you remember, after you came back from the military and everything, you were very short-tempered. And I told you that. I was like, you're not the same Darren you used to be.
Yeah.
Like, you used to be very controlling of your emotions and very stoic. But over time, you became very short-tempered, but you also at the same time didn't want to seek conflict. So it was like your mind was having conflict with itself.
Yeah.
But since then, you've definitely kind of gone back to your old ways in a good sense.
Yeah, so it's mostly because of sleep, man. When you don't get sleep, you're not gonna. If you're working out, you're not gonna be able to build muscle as easily if you're not sleeping well.
That's right.
And also, you need to have that mental break. Your brain needs to reset and stop gathering in all this information, so you don't get a lot of mental fatigue. And a lot of times, I like to say that mental fatigue is worse than physical fatigue.
Yeah. A lot of times when you're starting off in business, you have a lot of momentum going in. You're excited. Your partner's excited. This, that, and the third. Here's the problem. The problem is you guys are so excited that eventually something is going to, arrive where you're like, you know what? We've done all this work. Let me just relax for the day. Let me just relax for 2 days. And if you're not disciplined, that 1 day will become 2 days. Those 2 days will become 4 days. Those 4 days will become 8 days. Next thing you know, you've lost momentum.
Yeah.
And what I want to say is this: momentum is like a dollar bill. Once it is wasted, it's hard to get back. Because when you do get it back, it is not the same dollar bill, and it's not the same momentum. And that's something to really take into consideration there.
Another thing too, when it comes with like taking that rest, is it leaps back into time management, right? So if you are going to want to take that rest period, you're going to have to make sure if you know you suck at losing momentum, and if you're going to take that break and you know you're the type of person that's going to it's going to be a snowball effect. Make sure you have some of that time in that rest period to do at least an hour or two of work, so you're keeping yourself in that pace while resting. So instead of doing 8 hours of work like you would for your business, cut it down to 1 or 2 hours so you can have that longer rest period, so you don't also lose momentum as you would if you know you're that person that will lose momentum if you rest. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah, I agree 100%. And another thing too is a lot of people, they get burnt out because they're the only ones putting forth the effort in their business.
Yeah.
Or they're by themselves in their business. And a lot of people, they want to do everything on their own because they're under the notion that nobody can do what they're doing as well as they could or better. So because of that, they put all the workload on themselves. And I'm guilty of that from time to time. But I would say this: bring the right partners in place. By bringing the right partners in place, You can assign each person their own specific roles in the business to where everybody can contribute and everybody can put forth what they know best into providing for the business and helping the business grow. But if you try and do everything yourself and you try to wear every single hat, it's not going to be long until eventually you put on the wrong hat that doesn't fit.
Yeah.
And then when you put on the wrong hat that doesn't fit, guess what? You look goofy.
Yeah.
And on top of that, your business suffers. You know, it's like I would compare it to this. Thinking that you can be on your own and create a multi-million-dollar or billion-dollar conglomerate is like a construction crew coming in, but then you realizing the construction crew only consists of one person, but they're supposed to build up your tower.
Okay, yeah, that's good. I was gonna say it's like owning a company or you're a business. You're the manager. You're the shift manager. You're the janitor. You're the salesperson. You're the HR company. You're a finance department. You're everything, marketing, and that's a lot of stress, man. You need a team. Another good thing too, because you were mentioning about finding the right partners, finding the right people, is making sure you don't have negative and toxic people in your life.
I agree.
That is the biggest thing. Like I was talking about in a videos way before, right, of the law of attraction, right? So if you constantly have all these negative people around you and they're always bickering and you're like, oh man, I'm so drained. I'm so tired. This work sucks. Why are we doing so much? Or they're just sitting there being complaining, toxic, negative, bickering at you like, oh man, like, why don't you do this anymore? Right? They're just very toxic. They're going to slowly drain you and steal that drive and steal that energy you have and make you become like them. So eventually you're going to be like, man, why am I working so hard on this? I'm too tired for this. And then all of a sudden that's going to work in your head and you're going to feel tired. You're going to feel exhausted. So I would suggest the biggest way to bring out burnout is to get those toxic people out of your life so you don't force yourself into that burnout mode.
Yeah, and it's entrainment. You know, who you associate yourself with for a long period of time, you ultimately end up becoming like.
Yeah.
And it happens to the best of us, you know. But it's very important and very vital that the people you surround yourself with are only going to be there to uplift you. Because on your road to success, on your journey to success, regardless of what you do, a lot of change is necessary. Change is oftentimes necessary in order to receive growth. And progress is what's going to equal happiness. So a real friend, they're going to encourage this change. They're going to encourage this progress. So, for example, this is what I'm going to say. A real friend would encourage your change and your dedication. A fake friend will just remind you of your past. I'm going to put that as an example. So a real friend, when you tell them, I'm going to do this, this is going to require this from me. I'm sorry, I can't go to this party with you. I can't go to any parties with you anymore until I get to where I want to be at. They're going to be like, listen, I fully understand you. Is there anything I can do to help you out? What can I do to help you and, you know, encourage you to kind of propel yourself forward to succeed? And I have a few friends like that, probably 2 or 3 of them, including you. And you know, it's those people will encourage your growth. Those people will see your vision and they're like, listen, I see your vision. I see what you're trying to create. Don't let me hold you back. On the contrary, a fake friend, you'll tell that to. You'll be like, listen, I'm not going to any parties with you. I can't do this with you until I achieve greatness. And they're going to be like,
man, why aren't you doing this? You used to party with me all the time. You don't like me anymore, bro?
This wasn't planned, but exactly that. They're going to be like, oh, bro, you're not, you know, you've changed. You're not the same. You used to do this with me all the time. Oh, like, for example.
You fake, bro. You fake.
Say you want to quit smoking weed, right? You know, you want to quit smoking weed. You want to have more control over your mind. And you tell your friend, listen, I'm okay with you smoking weed, but I prefer not to do it. And they look at you and they're like, oh, bro, you literally used to smoke with me all the time. Bro, when the fuck did this come from? Like, where did this come from? Like, you used to smoke with me 24/7. Oh, stop that bullshit, bro. Let's just smoke. Let's light up a blunt.
Yeah.
And the next thing you know, you're either going to be the person that falls victim to that peer pressure, or you're going to lose a friend because of your inability to want to go back to being fucking average. And when you commit yourself to being great, as I mentioned before, not only are you viewed as crazy, but your commitment to greatness will also make you a target, because not many people like that. Not many people are appreciative of the fact that you want to create something out of your life, because it reminds them that they haven't done shit with their own.
It's crazy, bro. It's wild that so many people have situations like that, and they fall trapped to it because, you know, they want to have friends. And they don't want to lose their friends. But sometimes you need to remove them out of your life, or you'll stay the same. It's like when we build muscle. Old cells are being replaced by new cells. That's with skin, muscle, everything, right? So in order for you to become a better version of yourself, you need to cut those people out. You need to become new. And if they're going to hold you back, you're never going to get where you want to be, because they're going to constantly be dragging you down. Yeah. So you always have to try. One thing I want to do is I want to try to associate myself and make friends with people that are better than me. So that way I get brought up to another level versus them trying to bring me down. Does that make sense?
Yeah, and look at a snake, for example. A snake, what does it do when it's growing? It sheds out of its old skin and leaves it behind to continue moving forward.
Yeah.
That's what you need to do.
Yeah.
Shed that old skin behind. Don't even look back for a second. Continue moving forward.
Yeah. And then there's also one crazy way where I'm going to go on to the next idea of how to avoid burnout. And this is one is very, very, very underlooked. And it's simple. I heard it one time, and I heard it once, and I'm like, damn, that makes a lot of fucking sense. Look back at where you came from, where you started, right? So, for example, we didn't always have the best life. So we look back, we know what it's like to suffer, we know what it's like to be poor, and I'm not going to let myself be burnt out, because I have no fucking option to be burnt out right here. I don't want to go back to where I came from, so I'm simply not going to allow myself to be burnt out, right? So you remember where you came from, and you use that past to keep driving you forward so you avoid burnout. It's simple. Just don't be burnt out. And I thought about it. I was like, man, that's a dick move. And I started thinking more, and I was like, that's kind of true, because when you kind of allow yourself to feel burnt out, you're allowing yourself to get comfortable. And you don't have that mental fortitude or willpower to keep pushing forward. So it's simple. Just don't get burnt out.
Yeah. And what you tell yourself is going to determine that. Because if you constantly tell yourself, oh, I'm tired. Oh, I don't have the energy for this. Oh, I don't have the time for this. Oh, I don't have the money for this. You're already creating lack in your brain. So you're convincing your mind that you have a lack of something.
Yeah.
So it's like in the book Rich Dad, Poor Dad. Yeah. There's a certain segment to where the rich dad and the poor dad have conflicting thoughts on things. For example, the poor dad would say, I can't afford this. The rich dad would say, how can I afford this? There's two different mindsets that are going to come into play in which those are going to ultimately create the success. Because the person that says, I cannot afford this, are they going to fucking do anything to afford it? No. Because they've convinced themselves mentally they have a lack of something. In this case, it'll be money. The person that says, how can I afford this? They're forcing their brain to find answers in order to get whatever they're desiring.
Mm. Yeah, man. So that quote is kind of crazy. Like my fiance's dad, I never realized why he said this until just now, right? So when he would sit there and he would tell me, hey, man, don't really think about it too much. If you see this nice house you want to go to, he said, go for it. Don't thinking about it. The money will come later, right? He came from Colombia, went from like a crazy gang life to now he's living in a house that's almost $1 million. It's crazy. And he just said, don't think about it. You want that nice car? Go get the nice car. The money will come. So it's kind of like, when I think about it, kind of ties into this, right? His English wasn't able to like fully transfer due to the language barrier, saying, you will figure out how you can, versus like the poor dad just going, oh no, I can't afford that. You go for it and you'll figure out a way to afford it if you really want it and you really want to better yourself.
Right. And it's like this. It's when you get burnt out, imagine yourself as a match, right? You get lit up. You're a flame that's ongoing. You're hot. Yeah. You're at the peak of your excitement. You're at the peak of your journey. And at that very moment where you're lit up and you're hot, all it takes is one little reaction, one little wind gust, a small little change in the environment to take your match out completely. Now, let me ask you this, Darren. If you light a match, and it's a match, and if the match goes out, is there any chance of you lighting it again?
Not that match, no.
No. You would have to light a different match.
Yeah.
And now, how hard is it for people to find a different source of momentum? And also, if they lose momentum, and what most people do is they try and find a different business venture, how easy is it for them to jump into a business venture knowing they have no fucking passion in it?
How easy it is?
Yeah.
A lot of people will jump into
It's
any
not
business.
fucking easy.
Well, no, a lot of people will jump into any business. What's not easy is actually continuing pushing through with that business. Yeah. So, and then also another thing too, right? If you go back to this match analogy, right? So you're a match and you're a flame. What happens when you cover it with a piece of glass?
Goes out.
No, yeah, it goes out because no oxygen can flow through. So if you're closed-minded and you don't have if you're not open to getting new ideas, new team members around to help you out, that flame will go out and you will not burn bright anymore.
Oof. Yeah. Shine bright like a diamond. Guys, at the end of the day, what we're trying to do is provide as much value as possible. If you or anybody you know can benefit from this, please, we ask that you like, share, subscribe, comment, whatever the case may be. Give us some feedback. Feel free to debate with us. If you want to do a Q&A where we do something live, we'll be more than happy to do so as well. So that way we can hear your thoughts and possibly either debate them or just shed some light on them as well. And as always, it is a privilege to actually be here and provide you with some insight and provide you with some knowledge and things that can possibly help you in your business.
Yeah, and thank you guys for watching. Please like and share, subscribe, comment below of any ideas. Hey, you like this? Hey, you didn't like this? It would really mean a lot to me. And yeah, I just appreciate every single one of you, even if it's just one person watching.
And welcome to the Lion's Den. Don't get burnt out, bro.